Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another snackable version of the Marketing Your Practice podcast. Now, in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to deal with the frustration of no one engaging with your content. Now, whether that be videos that you're putting up on Facebook or a blog post, whether that be images that you're taking the time to share with your community, there's few things that are as frustrating as when we check back in and we see that our video has 3 views, and particularly when you see that 2 of them are from your mum as well. Now, this is a question that I get all the time inside the Community Influencer Coaching Program, and it's a one that often you guys are reaching out to me saying, how do I solve this problem? Now, before I get into how to deal with that frustration, I want to tell you a little Ed Sheeran story. Now, Ed Sheeran, the musician, is exactly who I'm talking about. Now, last year I was at one of Ed Sheeran's concerts here in Melbourne, and I think he'd had some kind of record where he had literally sold out something like 40 concerts here in Australia. It was outrageous, sort of broke all records here in Australia and some kind of records around the world as well. And Ed was telling the story that just 5 years ago, he was playing in a small pub, a little hotel here in Australia, and he was playing to a crowd of 11 people. So in 5 years, he'd gone from 11 people watching him to 40 sold out concerts. Now, one of the mistakes that we can often make is that when we see somebody like Ed Sheeran up on stage, we can think that there's some kind of genius that he has. And in fact, I think it was Thomas Edison that said that often genius is just persistence that's cloaked in something different. So what he goes on to say is that what Ed Sheeran has, and yes, there's no doubt that Ed Sheeran is an incredible music talent, is that what Ed Sheeran actually has is persistence. And it's this persistence, gang, that often stops many of us from seeing the results on social media as well, or with our marketing in general, or with our lives, or with our practice, or us achieving anything great. See, we often are looking for a short-term result. And so when I have somebody reach out to me and say, hey, listen, I've just posted a video up on Facebook or Instagram and I've had 3 watches, my response back to them is, how many videos have you posted? And invariably, it's 1 or 2, or maybe if somebody's been working really hard, they've posted 6 videos over the last 3 or 4 months. And my response is just this, like, why should your community care? Like, to be honest, if you've just produced 1 video or even 6 videos, that's not showing up consistently. That's not persistence. You know, the fact is that our social media feeds nowadays are incredibly busy. They're incredibly noisy. You know, there's somewhere in the vicinity of 1 to up to 10,000 messages waiting for us every time we open up our device. And one of the things that that social media feed is doing is it's looking for relevance. It wants to show us content that's showing up all the time. And if you've just posted 1 video or even 6 videos over the last few months, you haven't earned the right to be there. If you want to position yourself as a true community influencer, if you want to be a leader, then leadership is about showing up. And not just showing up today and not showing up tomorrow, but it's about being there next month and in 2 months' time and in 3 months' time and even in 2 or 3 years' time as well. Now, great things can happen when we show up consistently. And my advice to you, if you're seeing no results out there with your social media content, with the emails that you're sending out or the videos that you're making, is how long have you been doing it for? What's your persistence like there as well? Inside Ryan Halliday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, he has a little mantra when it comes to persistence, and it goes something like this: never in a hurry, never worried, never desperate, and never stopping short. So ADIO Media, these podcasts now, this will be episode 75, 6 or 7, so that's almost 80 episodes. It's over a year that we've been working this in the initial days with Tony and I. In fact, there's a whole bunch of episodes beforehand. And it's only just now that this podcast is starting to gain some traction. And it's the same with the videos that we make through my chiropractic practice, whether it be in Port Melbourne or my wife's practice in Lara. It's about consistently showing up. So before you give yourself the right to be frustrated about your videos not getting any views, then ask yourself this: how committed am I to the process? So if you have been showing up consistently and you've got 6 months worth of content and still nobody is engaging, watching your videos or commenting on your posts, then there's probably something else going on, and we'll talk about that in another podcast. But really, this message is for those of you that are getting frustrated because there's no engagement and you haven't yet earned the right to be frustrated. If you're not showing up consistently, if you're not taking that leadership position where your community is challenging you to see how real you are, then you don't have the right to be frustrated. And I want to remind you of that mindset that I spoke about before from Ryan Halliday, and that is, remember this: never in a hurry, never worried, never desperate, and of course, never stopping short. So hang in there, keep at the work, and remember, your community needs you to show up. Not just this week, not just next week, but it needs you showing up consistently week after week and be there for the long haul. As always, gang, your community needs you. Keep saving lives. I look forward to chatting with you again real soon. Over and out. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at adiomedia.com/join. That's adiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.